And here we go. We're going about 17 kilometers an hour, just on cruising. Fish camp. It's nice having you guys along. It's kind of lonely, so having my YouTube subscribers with me is a big deal here. It's quite a beautiful chunk of water. That's really handy. So there's a little map on my phone from the spot, so I know there's a little pothole lake right there. So it's really kind of cool. Kind of lets you know where the moose might be right over there. However, I don't think I'm going to hunt this lower portion of the lake. I'm only about 14 miles up so far, because I want to get all the way to the next town. I always get a moose and never do it, because I could go back upstream now. So I'm going to just, you know, if a moose stumbles out, I'm not going to hunt really hard, because this gets a lot of hunting pressure. I'm going to leave these moose alone, unless they really are asking for it. Should make about 80 miles today. I'm going to try to almost not get a moose in this lower country. Nice country. But there's a lot of hunting pressure here. So I'm going to try to go a little further. The thing I like about my maps on the Garmin is it tells you where all the First Nation land is. I brought my maps and I was always worried about it. Now I can tell myself right where they are. One thing I can't do tonight is leave the motor like that, because it's going to freeze. And then you might get some frozen stuff in the lower unit, which will break the little plastic impeller. So either got to leave that leg down in the water, or take it off and I'll put it up against a tree or something so that it's straight up and down. Bunch of eagles. See how close they let us come. Those eagles on the post there. Oh yeah, they let me kick pretty close, all right. Hey boys. I have badly underestimated how long this trip's going to take. And that has got me now pushing the river time and not really spending much time hunting. Ooh. Ooh. Oof. Oof. Woo. Woo. Even had time to make a bannock. What a camp. Purcell Grill. That Purcell Grill, man, it's pretty great. All right. Okay, one of my subscribers said, how do you look after your rifles in the wilderness? So on a canoe trip, I use one of these waterproof bags. It's like a dry bag. So there's that one. And you can see it's got that roll top enclosure. But you can't leave it in there. So I take it out because it'll sweat in there. So there's the rifle. And I took it out. And all I'm going to do is put a little string with a rag on it through the barrel, even when they're stainless. And I bought a stainless rifle, this one, and I took this out of its waterproof bag. This is the Savage 99. It's even more important because it sweats in there. So that's step one. And really great campsite. Compared to the last time we were here, this is just unbelievable. There's the boat in the background. Woo! Getting ready to roll out. Crack a 10. Leftovers. All right. Man, it's easier when the boy's with me. Uh-oh. Bleep! Bleep! This is very low here. Oh, this is bleep! Oh, shit. I really messed that up. Picked the wrong lane here. Oh, I missed the line totally. I thought I could sneak in here. I wasn't thinking. That's all it takes. You can see how shallow it is here. I had to pull the motor up, and then paddle power wasn't enough. But I think I can, instead of going back and getting into that deep water, I think I can just pull it here and get into a more serene water up there. But you know, check this out. That is a bull moose right there. And there's also a calf and a cow. There's a number of different this bank. Okay, we're free. A little bit of lining and a little bit of paddling. That was really dumb. You know, problem with the motor is you approach everything a little faster. I could put it in reverse, but I had to make a fast decision, and I made the wrong decision. So, fortunately, without this, without the motor down, this thing drafts nothing. A moose should probably put it down another 6 inches, 5 inches. It's not new, but that's a big bull. Moosey looking country. I thought it'd be worth a little trip in here. Alright, it's hard to paddle with one hand. Alright. Another thing I like about the old Wanagon, boy, it makes a nice seat. Hey, that's a good seat. Saw my first person today in 3 days. He was on the other side of the water in a big, powerful motorboat going upstream, making about 20 kilometers an hour, where I can make about 5. 6 horsepower. I talked about taking the 2.5, 6 is the way to go. So it was 50 kilometer an hour winds last night, and in the afternoon. And I'm glad that my boat has good secondary stability, because I was out in that, and every once in a while it would make a little move, but I knew that it would catch and stay stable. It was nice to see a person even from far away. So if I was going to do this trip again, there's moosey areas, and then there's big giant spots where you're never going to find a moose. And I had around the Benditus. So I'd see a moosey area, I'd get out, I'd make a couple of calls, and then I'd think, well, maybe it's better around the bend, around the bend, around the bend. And the explorer in you takes over, and you just start going and seeing what's around the bend. And that's kind of the fun of being out. But if I was going to do this trip again, I would definitely stop in those moosey areas and spend 2 days. And that's why it'd be easier when my wife's retired, because we could have fun. Being by myself, it's good. But, it leads to around the Benditus, because if truth be told, this old dog also, like the old horse, I used to ride an old horse sometimes with friends and stuff, and they'd always want to get back to the barn. They always want to go back and where there's hay and they're comfortable. They don't want to be out on the trail anymore. And I'm a little bit like that old horse. So I call it around the Benditus. But so the other thing about moose hunting is our freezer is almost still full of wild game meat from caribou and moose. Because a moose, sorry, I got a bit of sniffles. A moose will last us a good 1.5 to 2 years, because there's a lot of meat on a moose. And we don't eat just moose, although a lot of moose. We go through the moose hamburger like crazy. It's our favorite meal. So anyway, if I did this trip again, I'd do less around the Benditus and more spending time in the moosey areas. This has been almost like road hunting. So sometimes you drive down the road and you see a moose or an animal. Usually you don't. Sometimes you do. So I've been road hunting in a boat. And if I was going to do this trip too, I would bring the Scott Freighter with the surface drive motor. There are times when you get in shallow water. You don't mean to, but you end up in shallow water and the outboard is fairly useless. I've made a couple of mistakes, a couple of errors of judgment. A couple of times I tried to eddy out what looked like a little body of water where the stream stops and you can go up. But it ended up being a meandering part of the river, and then it had current. So, small rocks. And if it had no current, I could have just paddled. But with current, then suddenly you're in a jam. The surface drive motor, you can just touch it in the water, and you can still get some steerage. And you can bring it up and down as you need to. And the only problem with the surface drive is it doesn't have reverse. Occasionally, to check out which current to take and to slow down your impact, you can put this thing in reverse and just keep it on idle. And that works out pretty well. You can't do that with a surface drive. You're only full ahead. It's full bore ahead, sort of like a jet boat, only slower, but use a lot less gas. So, and gas, talking about gas, I've only burnt 5 gallons of gas. So I don't know, because I was thinking 2 liters an hour. I was thinking be going full, but I'm not usually going full bore. I'm usually going half bore. I think the gas usage of this 6 is probably equivalent to 2.5, because the 2.5 I got on full all the time. And it's a lot easier on the motor. So I think the 6 is probably the way to go. I was wrong. My 2.5, I think I'll just, I brought it just in case I damage this one. I didn't want to paddle. I hate paddling. I don't hate paddling. I like paddling when you set out to paddle and you got lots of time. But I'm supposed to get back to work on Monday. So, retirement. I'm in semi-retirement now, I guess. I've got more control over my work, but I still got to get some stuff done. And I admire the people I work for, so I gotta roll. I gotta do a good job. But my wife's taking a new job. She's working as a drama teacher for MAD, which is quite prestigious, and she's having a lot of fun with it. So we're a little bit worried about COVID, but she'll be careful. And you can't hide. You cannot hide from the world. I'll keep working on my weight so that if I do get sick, I'll be less likely to be catastrophically sick. But you never know. It's a very unknown kind of thing, isn't it? But anyway, I've got some soup to eat. Over and out. And we're finished. Okay, that was fun. Saw a lot of river. Learned quite a bit. Saw a girl moose. Saw lots of tracks. Saw what I could have done differently. Saw that for this kind of river, the big 21-foot Hudson's Bay with the 14 horse is the way to go. You'll often be driving around and suddenly you'll run into shallow water. You can't even tell. I'm so glad I had the lift. I probably would have died without it. But even with the lift, I did some nasty work to the motor at times. You run into a bunch of low rocks that you didn't see. Made me feel bad. I finally configured it to go fast. My first couple of days I wasn't going very fast. I needed to change the angle of the motor. I needed to make it more like that instead of like that. And, or no, like, is it like that rather than that? Like that rather than that, yeah. And figure that would pull the front down, because front was riding too fast. I also put as much weight as possible up front. You know, I thought I'd use the extension, but when you're on a river like this, you got to be pulling the motor up and shutting it off. And if you're up further away, it's just, for a guy as old as I am, it's not much fun to be doing that kind of fast work from leaning way back over. So I like being on that back bench and just getting your weight better. I would use the extension if it had a kill switch. I could probably rig that up. And sometimes you just want to kill the motor right away. So, anyway, boy, really to hunt moose on that river would be a good river to hunt, but you'd need to spend twice as long. I just basically ran the river because I'm like an old horse. Mother's at home. I'm looking to get home. I'll do a lot better when she's retired too. Beautiful.